Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a blessed day. So in today's video we'll be talking about a very active fall pattern that is setting up with a lot of cold air. So if you're dealing with the heat across the United States, you will be seeing a cool off. As you can see, I have the GFS pulled up, and within a few days we could be looking at something like this. Extremely cold temperatures for this time of the year, and we will be seeing a powerful cold front along with this, and we have a lot of things to talk about. I want to start off by looking at the GFS 2-meter temperature anomalies, which is a map that you saw earlier. It is basically a map that is divided in reds and blues. The reds are above average temperatures, the blues are below average temperatures for this time of the year. And as I push this forward, you can see that right now there is no cool off yet. And the cool off is going to develop from a cold fall autumn storm that is going to be bringing a powerful cold front across the United States. Right now the only areas that are seeing cool weather are the Midwest and the Northeast and a little bit of the South, where we have chicken pox, as I like to call it, chicken pox cloud cover and storm development, which leads to a little bit of cool air. Notice though that we have actually heat developing across the North Dakota area, into the upper plains there, the west. This is again out ahead of this large system as the low pressures. I'll give you a little quick lesson here. You probably know this if you watch the weather channels. Low pressure spin counterclockwise, so out ahead of them it's very warm and behind them is very cold. That is the very simple explanation there, and which is why we're seeing that heat. The cool off kind of sneaks up, so it's not again necessarily one that's coming from Canada. It's brought by a storm, so it almost spawns out of nowhere. You can see across across southern Alberta, Manitoba, British Columbia, and into the northern United States, we have an area of cool weather that begins brewing behind this system. Now you can see it a lot more developed, that warm front, that cold front behind it. If I were to show you the MSLP and precipitation, you can see that what we have is an area of low pressure beginning to develop across Canada, and as this thing moves eastward, it becomes more and more defined. The low pressure shows up on a map, and we see an area of circulation, strong northeasterly winds, and we also see this cold front right here develop, which will be cause for concern with some thunderstorms and severe weather. Let's go back to the 2-meter temperature anomaly, however. And I want to show you this cool off, which at this point is beginning to really grow by Saturday. So again, Friday you're still mostly warm across a good portion of the United States, excluding the northern states, where you will be seeing that warm front or that cool down beginning to develop. Notice while this cool off is ongoing, at least at first during the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, the Midwest, the Great Lakes, and even portions of the Northeast at this point are cooling off. The areas that are going to be very warm are the northwestern United States and southwestern Canada. So if you live in British Columbia, even southern Alberta, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, portions of Utah, Nevada, most of California, you will be seeing a lot of heat during these initial stages. So that is unfortunate for you folks, but unfortunately I guess you guys are going to have to pay the price for everyone else seeing the cool off, assuming most folks in the east want this cool off. So notice that the heat in the west expands even more and becomes even more intense as this cool off also expands. So by Monday this thing is digging into Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia. And what's interesting with the most recent model runs, there have been some updates from the last few videos I've made. This thing has shifted a little further westward. I have had someone comment on here and be like, I want this thing to shift a little further west. I would love some of this cool weather. And it seems you got your wish. I mean, I don't know how far west you are, but it seems as if Wyoming, Colorado, even New Mexico, Arizona might get in on some of this cool air, especially combined with above average activity in terms of precipitation, which will lead to cloud cover and will lead to cool conditions, at least for part of the day there. And this is definitely a westward shift compared to what we've been seeing. Now don't worry folks, across the northeast or southeast, you will still get in on some of this cool air just a little later. So by Tuesday of August 26th and into Wednesday, you can see this cool off is expansive across much of the United States, the north, the east, the south, excluding maybe the peninsula of Florida, a bit of New England, and then look across Colorado, Nebraska, Kansas, Wyoming, Oklahoma, Texas. We have a lot of cool weather, and that is why the anomaly there is so strong, is because it's combined with precipitation. You can see there is going to be a low pressure beginning to develop there, and that 2-meter temperature anomaly will be very cold. So the actual temperature Fahrenheit readings potentially by next Tuesday and Wednesday across Nebraska, Kansas, Colorado, Wyoming might be in the 50s during the day, mind you, during the day. At night it could get down into the 40s. So yes, this again, when I say very cold for this time of the year, this is a very, very cold cool down. Especially very impressive because around this time of the year, you don't often get large systems and large storms like in the winter or late fall or early spring, which are capable of really digging in and getting this cold air far south. While there is going to be a powerful storm, it's honestly is not strong enough to do this by itself. There are other features helping it, like a heat wave in Canada that is going to be developing further north, keeping some of this cool air to the south, amongst other things. But yes, a very, very impressive cool down. We haven't seen one like this in late August in probably a few years, and especially on top of the fact it's been such a hot summer for the vast majority of people. I mean, I know here in my city, Chicago is almost going to be breaking, I think, into the top 10 hottest summers by the time it's done. Notice this thing continues Tuesday, Wednesday. This thing expands all the way down even into Florida. At this point, New England getting in on this. So, if you live in Florida, you think you're going to miss out on this. For the most part, unfortunately, yes. But it looks like you will still get at least average temperatures or even slightly cooler. Now, notice, again, this is the heat wave I was talking about in southern Canada. So, at this point, it is moving away, this cool down from these southern Canadian areas. But look, it's moving into more of the southwest. It's still very expansive across the middle west of the country and also the east coast, getting some cool weather. This is Friday now, Saturday, so at this point we are getting pretty far away, and a lot of this cool weather at this point in time will be to do with just simply cloud cover. As you can see, there's going to be an area of showers and storms. Still, the cool air mass is going to be present across some of these areas. Once we get to this time frame of 240 hours, which is usually when I like to say is kind of when the medium range goes into the long range, that 240 hour time difference, we start seeing that cool off disappear more and more, and obviously the confidence goes away with that, and we see more warm air sneaking in. There were signs a few days ago that there might be a massive heat wave that starts developing right after this cool down. Now it seems to be the opposite. Again, that's why we don't talk about the long range that far out, because it changes on the not even a daily, on the intra-daily. All right, there's 4 times a day this model comes out, and it seems to be changing every time. Now, I'll show you this just for giggles. It shows a potential winter storm developing across Ontario and into Saskatchewan there, I believe. And we can see a powerful cold front that stretches down and a hurricane at the very end of that cold front. So imagine the YouTube thumbnails and titles with this. This would be crazy. A winter storm hurricane hybrid. Obviously, this is very far out and probably won't be happening, but it is kind of fun to look at. So during this time of these cool temperatures, we will be looking at a generally quiet pattern across much of the United States. However, not across the southwest. As this cool off extends and this high pressure moves into the United States, look at that H, just absolutely perfect drawing. As this high pressure moves in, it's going to be spinning things clockwise. High pressures, unlike low pressure, spin clockwise, right? So it's going to be suppressing that arrow is a monster. It's suppressing all this moisture to the south with its winds, but then also on this side, it's going to be drawing up moisture, right? So a lot of the south here, southwest, will be drawn up moisture from Mexico, the Gulf of Mexico, and a lot of these areas, Utah, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, will be dealing with quite a bit of precipitation, especially Colorado. Look at that. And this seems to be consistent with a lot of the models. If you look at the European model, it shows even more precipitation that is rather extensive across these areas. This is good news. A lot of these areas are in drought. I want to take a look at the GEFS now. So this is an ensemble of the GFS. So this is kind of a more averaged look of the forecast. And I want to run through the cool down one more time with you guys and show you that basically, yeah, this thing is very, very likely to happen. The confidence is very high. And you can see the ensembles begin showing this Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Again, they also expanded pretty far towards the west, the southwest, and with the help of cloud cover and precipitation. So again, the west getting in on some of this as well, but it's going to be more of a wet and cool down, while most of the other parts of the country are going to be seeing a dry cool down. So again, and the models you do kind of take this away by Thursday, Friday. At least they decreased the intensity, still hanging around for a better part of the week. So this is going to last for a decent bit, especially across the Midwest. Other areas like New England or Florida might get a little less of this as it struggles to get to those areas. but still, you can see the GEFS maintains that warmth only after, again, that 240, 50-hour time frame, it begins kind of diminishing it, but we'll have to wait and see what happens then. Let's look at the EPS. So this is the European ensembles. The model one is just coming in, but it gives us enough time to look at through the next 200 hours. Again, warmth, a little bit of cool till that Friday, till this upcoming Friday and Saturday where this cool down begins. And you can see the European, just like the GFS, also advertising for a cool down. It shows it extending pretty far towards the west, even further west than the GFS one does. Again, it does exclude portions of Florida and New England for this, but a lot of the Midwest dealing with very cool temperatures. And again, by the time we get towards the next weekend, it seems to be diminishing this cool down, which is to be expected. Okay, so now I want to look at the 6 to 10 day temperature and precipitation outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. They release these every single day, and they update them every single day. Notice across much of the eastern half of the United States, I would say even eastern 2/3, excluding Florida and extreme southern Texas, they are calling for a very high probability of below average temperatures, and the same thing goes for the precipitation outlook. A lot of below average precipitation across the Midwest and into potentially the Northeast, and then, as I was saying, very, very above average precipitation across a good portion of the West there, which is very good news as they have been kind of missed out this year by a lot of this rain. And I know in Utah, for example, Nevada, Wyoming, Idaho, the drought has been getting really, really bad. So hopefully that provides some relief for the farmers, the ranchers, and just as ordinary citizens. And now looking at the 8 to 14 day precipitation outlook. So this is obviously a little further out. Notice that we have warm temperatures across the northern, I guess, fourth, probably fifth of the northwestern United States as this cool down begins to move further and further towards the south and east. The probabilities are a little lower because naturally it's further out, so that's why there's the lighter blue colors. Don't confuse the lighter blue with less intensity. It's just probability. And then you can see the 8 to 14 day precipitation outlook favoring, again, the same areas as the dryness moves towards a little bit further towards the east, and that above average precipitation expands across a good portion of the southern 2/3, southwestern 2/3 of the United States. So that is basically it. I covered everything I wanted to share with you guys. This cool down is coming, as I've been advertising for quite a while now. Hopefully you had a decent heads up, and at least it gave you some motivation through all this hot weather. And now we are looking at finally a nice cool down. So hopefully you enjoyed, hopefully you learned something new, and I will catch you all guys in the next video. See ya. Bye.